Hey guys, how's it going? Well, been a little bit busy lately. Thought I would do a new shop tour of a semi-functional workshop, including semi-functional tools. So this is the elephant in the room, and I'm saying that because it weighs 600 pounds. So I got this a few weeks ago for about 750 bucks, I think, with everything. It's a 20-inch swing by I think 48-inch long bed, wood fast lathe made in Australia. It doesn't run right now because the motor's sitting there. So it came with a brand new Balder 2 horsepower motor. Well, I don't know if it's brand new, but it came with a 2 horsepower Balder motor and a VFD, which lets me run. That's a 3-phase motor. That'll let me run it off a single phase 220, which is what I have in the house. There's some programming involved there, and wiring. But the plan is to get this repainted, sanded, repainted, working. I'm probably going to do away with the controls being down here. I'd like to actually put in some of the new fancy lathes. Have a remote panel that you can magnet to the base, and that'll have a variable speed rheostat, whatever they're called, on off reverse switch, and I'm going to try to add a tachometer to it. It is 5 speeds, as you can tell there and there, but because this is a 3-phase motor and because I have to wire a VFD, that lets you vary the frequency, variable frequency drive, that the motor receives, so that you can vary with the speed output. So it should be a variable speed lathe in the future. So yeah, that's my new toy. That was, I think, a new lathe like this is $3 or $4 grand easily. I paid basically for the motor and the VFD and got the lathe for free. Plus it came with a bunch of accessories. So that's my old lathe for scale. It's a fixed lathe, fixed speed motor with 5 speeds. It's set up for pin turning. I'll keep it. There's no reason to get rid of it. But yeah, this is those built-ins. These were pink when I bought the house and moved in. I painted them with about 14 coats of blue. Not super happy with the color, how it's kind of splotchy even after way too many coats, but what are you gonna do? Up here I've got a sampling of some tools. This is a 6 or 7-inch power planer for flattening wood. I've only used it for like one thing so far, but it does it really well. That's a compass plane. It can actually be, the sole can be adjusted for cutting curves. Sticking with the hilariously oversized tools, that's my woodworking timber framing chisel or slick, about 3 inches wide, and I'm able to handle some other tools. This is the lathe chuck that went with a little lathe, and you can see it's got a chunk of wood in it, so I don't know where the key is, but that's the big chuck that came with the new lathe. I'm going to clean that up and restore it and everything, as I am prone to doing. Down here we've got all my old turning supplies, not yet unpacked. I can't actually close the closet door with that toolbox sitting there sideways, so I'm going to have to change that. Last weekend I went to a swap meet at the local woodcraft store, and that gentleman was selling sandpaper. These were $2 a pack. They're mostly full. I didn't count everything, but I bought 10 packs of Festool brand sandpaper. I think 100 pack is $65, $75 new for the 5-inch stuff. I'm not sure exactly, but yeah, I sort of screwed up here, and I'll explain why later. But it's not really a big deal, but I did accidentally get some 6-inch stuff where my sanders are 5-inch. This built-in is going to be my shop supplies cabinet, I think. So I've got hardware, I've got sandpaper, I've got, cleaning supplies. My little circular saw is back there right now until it finds a home. Tape, stuff like that. Down here is going to be all finishing supplies, I think. I'm not sure about that. These built-ins need some lighting. They weren't bad when they were bright pink, but now that they're dark blue, they definitely need more lighting, as does the entire shop. Over here, I've got a Husky 26-inch wide, I think, toolbox that I've had for a while. It's got some of my power tools, sharpening supplies, and my little lunchbox planer. This is like a 13-inch Delta cheap planer, so thickness is wood. Back here at the bar, this is some mechanics tools I've scrounged together for down here because it's always nice to have stuff. This is actually my stepdad's old toolbox from, I think maybe when he was a kid. I don't know, but it's old. And I've already outgrown it just for the little bit of tools I brought down here for mechanic stuff. This is my old bandsaw. I bought this new several years ago when I first started turning, and it's just underpowered for what I needed. It's undersized, and it's rusty. It's not plugged in, don't worry. That blade is rusty. But also, this is eye level for me. It's a little too high right now, but I've got a bar. Might as well use it for something. Some random stuff over here that I haven't put away yet. These are sharpening jigs. For this, which is an 8-inch low-speed grinder I use for sharpening, woodworking, and mostly lathe tools, on a base with, these are some tool rests that are an add-on thing I added to it for specifically for sharpening. Back here is my bar sink and car parts. I'm gonna see about tearing out this bar at some point probably, and getting rid of that sink and buying back, 8x8, 80, 60, 64 square feet, whatever this is, space. But that's not really a priority right now. Over here, here's my hand tool collection. There's most of it. This is the toolbox I built years and years ago. It's the first big project I did, but it's got, not all of, but most of my hand tools in it, most of which are antique. Basically, if it's a plane, I bought it used. If it's a saw, I bought it new, and if it's a chisel, I mostly bought them new. My measuring stuff is new, but it's a mess. My workbench, I've shown this before, but this is a 8-foot-long workbench that I built with a buddy probably 5 years ago. It's everything down here except that temporary bench is on wheels, except for this. I have the wheels for that, I just haven't put them on yet. This is what I was gonna say about the sanding pads that I bought. So this is a sanding pad that fits my sanders. These are just cheap 5-inch sanders. And you can see that these are the holes for the dust collection. Those are the mounting points for this pad. And they just Velcro on. The dust tool stuff, some of what I got was mesh, but some of it was not. Some of it was these sort of pads, slightly used. I did that. When I stick that on there, none of the holes line up. They're too far apart for this sand pad. So I've done a little bit of digging around, and it turns out that I can buy a new one of these discs for like 12 bucks, if not less. And I thought that these would be, this is the backing pad off of this other sander. I assumed that these were something fancy with like hollow ducting for the air, but it turns out that the dust collection really just, there's just an opening behind there. So these just have holes in them. So I'm gonna stick that on there, get it centered, and punch a bunch of 1/4 inch or whatever size holes those are in it. If I screw it up, I'm out 12 bucks. But that'll let me use these sanding pads, or the old ones. I lost most of my sandpaper. I lost it in the war, no. I lost most of my sandpaper at my apartment. I had a water heater leak, and it was spraying from the top of the water heater, the inlet, and ruined a bunch of my sandpaper. So I actually don't have much until I bought that, you know, $500 supply of sandpaper for 20 bucks. Drill press, this is one of my others that I bought new. It's just Harbor Freight. It's not very good, but whatever. This is my other acquirement. Weekend before last, I think. This showed up. It is a Dayton model 6Y001. It's a 6x9 belt and disc sander. So it's got a 9-inch sanding disc on it over here. I just pulled the pad off to see whether it was Velcro or self-adhesive. It's self-adhesive. And that table is on that side. And then it's also got a 6x48-inch belt portion that's direct drive off of it. Also, the bit of war damage that this has, I paid $100 for this, new for an American-made one of these like this. It's like $1,000. But the table for the belt side broke before I got it, obviously. So I'm gonna see if I can make a new table for it. Ideally out of plywood, but I have welder, and we'll see. It came to me on this stand, which is just folded sheet metal. This side of it, apparently when it fell over, presumably, it fell onto this side of the stand, it bent those legs, and that's when it broke the table off, my assumption. But I straightened those out in a bench vise with a hammer and, you know, just banging on stuff till they're better. And then I put these double locking casters on there. I won't bend over, but those casters actually prevent it from rolling. They can be locked with a brake so they don't roll, but they also can be locked so that they don't pivot, which is a problem with most casters. They can still pivot when they're locked, which means the whole machine shakes a lot. This is good enough for me for right now. So I haven't used this thing yet. I'm just getting it refurbished and cleaned up and stuff. I've added my first bit of dust collection, which is this little, I think it was like maybe $130 dust collector, dust air purifier. I think I might have shown this in the video, but it's just a fan with air filters inside of it, with a remote and a timer function. So I need a better dust collection system for this shop now that it's becoming, you know, a working shop, but those are expensive. So for right now, this was a good solution to clean the air. I needed that anyway. And then I've got my little, whatever, 14-gallon shop vac. This thing is actually really nice. I've had for years, but it sucks. So back over here is just my table saw. I still need to bolt that down. This is probably the next big thing I want to upgrade. This table saw is nothing to write home about. So yeah, and back over here is my storage closet. I'm just getting this organized still. So there's a light, but I didn't turn it on. Just for tool supply storage, clamps, stuff like that. But yeah, it's been pretty fun. I've bought quite a bit of tools lately and gotten really good prices on everything, I feel like. So stay tuned for this restoration. I'm gonna film this. Like I said, I'm gonna paint it. I'll tear it apart. It's really pretty straightforward to take apart, but it's actually partially taken apart already. But sand it all down, repaint it, and probably replace the bearings and the headstock, and, you know, clean up the tailstock, clean up the tool rest. It did come with a bunch of like live centers and some other chucks that are too small for either of my lathes, but I'll sell them on to somebody, and some tool rests and stuff. Plus he threw in some lumber, so yeah, this is going to be the next project, I think. at least the next big project, and I would like to film it. So stay tuned.